Welcome once again to another episode of Motorcycle Maintenance with Captain Clumsy at the helm. Now today's tasks are very simple ones, so hopefully that won't result in any shenanigans. But hey, it's me, you never know. What we're going to do, going to change the air filter, new air filter. We're going to change the spark plugs, new spark plugs. What we need to do though, before inserting the spark plugs or installing them, check the gap is correct. We have the workshop manual, or not the workshop manual, the owner's manual, which gives the correct gap. We need tools to take the old spark plugs out and put the new ones in, and also a screwdriver to remove the airbox cover, so I can put that in. Now I've tried to get screwdrivers that have about a slight magnetic tip to reduce the risk of them falling into the bike and they're not being retrievable. I've got the cloth to cover the tank, essential, another cloth to try and stuff down between the gaps where hope that will stop screws falling into the nether regions of the bike and never seen again. I must say, Moto Guzzi, why didn't you use spring clips like everybody else uses? Hey ho, it's an Italian bike. Okay, so that's the pre-preparation done. So now I think I'm going to get the spark plugs out, check the gaps, and then we'll just do the installation work, which should really only take a few minutes. But okay, enough for now. We'll start work. First hurdle is that I've got the new spark plugs out their packaging, just checking the gap, and for both of them it's quite considerably more than the maker's specification, which is 0.6 to 0.7 millimeters. This is 0.68, so that's well towards the top end, and it's quite loose, quite a visible gap. I can almost hear it tapping as it moves, so we need to sort of lessen that a bit. I'm going to use a very that's much better, I think. It's made of quite soft metal, these, so just getting there a little bit. There is a tool you can buy to adjust the spark plug gap. There's a spark plug spanner thing. I don't have one, so I'm going to reduce to whatever I have to hand to try and adjust that gap without destroying the we're much closer now. Just feel there's stiff resistance there. So that I think is about right. So that's that one set. So yes, what you're looking for is stiff resistance, not absolutely wedged, so you can't move it. That one's still got a little bit of a way to go. So once again, a little tap with a small hammer. You don't really use a big hammer. It may be hammer time, but yeah, don't go destroying. If you had a vice, again, that would be a useful tool. We're getting there now. It's got that stiff resistance. It's still a little bit loose, this one. So we'll go. It's still a little bit on the loose side, that. Yes, a vice and the correct tool would be the best approach. And I think we're now at that point where we're getting a bit of resistance. So we'll stop there. So that's both spark plugs gapped correctly. Now all we need to do is get them in. But as ever, we're going to start with the most difficult job, which is the air filter, or rather the most tricky job because it involves removing the seat and then the air filter cover. Right. So immediately I can see there's yet another job to be done. the tank badge on one side has fallen off. The other one still seems to be firmly attached. I've still got the sticky bit, no tank badge. It's not immediately around, so that's another item to add to the endless list of things that need to be done with this bike. Hopefully one of them, the paint chip, will be dealt with later today. I'm taking in this afternoon in an hour and a half, so I need to get on with this job. Oh, I wonder how much tank badges cost. Okay, so spark plug change time. This is a very simple procedure. Just remove the plastic cover, which just clips on and off. And they've changed that design in recent years on the later models of these. Then take off the plastic socket, rubber socket rather. Check that. That's all in pretty good nick. So we need one of these long spark plug. Just gently remove it. Shouldn't be too difficult. Got to be careful not to overly push down on this type of spark plug spanner, otherwise it can sometimes grip the spark plug too much, and when you're inserting them you can't pull it off again, which is a bit of a pain. You then have to take it off and reinsert it. Okay, quite a lot of threads on these. Here we go. Here we go. You see what I mean? It being gripped very tightly. Check these, and actually the gap was again a little bit on the wide side. Just looking in there's a little bit of corrosion, but nothing too much. So just gently insert that. Just gently insert that, he says, confidently. Oh well, that's what it wants to do. That's what it's going to do. I think we just swap this over into doing up mode. And then just keep doing this until it stops, and then just about an eighth of a turn more, I think, is the recommended amount for spark plugs. You certainly don't want to overdo them into an ally head. And I'll just do the same for the other one, but you don't need to see me doing the identical job on 2 cylinders. Bit annoyed about that badge. I was hoping it maybe might have just fallen off last time I touched the bike. There we are. No tighter than that. So again, difficult to get this thing out. Might have to resort to some pliers. Here we go. Right, that's probably not the approved way of doing it, but it's done now. Replace the HT lead. Make sure it's firmly seated, as it can create problems. If not, so there it is, replaced. That's job number 1, spark plugs replaced. These both didn't seem to be in too bad condition. Bear in mind I have given them a little bit of a clean up, so I'll keep them in as reserve. Only further minor problem was that this insert in the other spark plug spanner got stuck over the spark plug itself, and meant the spark plug having to be removed again, and then a different spark plug spanner used. So I don't know whether this one's past its sell by date, the rubber's just perished and is not doing its job. There we go. Fortunately it wasn't too much of a bugger to get fixed, but yes, use that one with caution, I think, if at all. So yeah, job number 1 done. Job number 2 involves taking the seat off, so let's crack on. Job number 2, air filter, and for that we need said air filter, we need some crosshead screws and the bike key to take the side panel off if we need to retrieve any missing screws. I've also got a couple of cloths I can put around to try and prevent that happening, and an Allen key for the side panel if we need to take that off. Okay, so first things first, let's take the seat off, and for that we do need the bike key. Very quick operation. That seems to work well. certainly better than my Moto Guzzi. And on Saturday I'm going to have the seat recovered and lowered about an inch or so to help with getting my feet on the ground. So, seat off. That reveals the airbox cover. We just remove the gubbins of the electronics out the way, so they're getting in the way. So now, key back in ignition. Let's try taking the most difficult screw off first. Right, one screw. Fortunately, the prednisolone is going down, so I'm slightly less fumbly fingered, although you wouldn't still call me rock steady. So remember, and the moral of all these videos is, if I can do it, anyone can. And I mean that. Right, let's get the air filter out of its bag. Now we'll compare them to see the old one and the new one. Interestingly, this is blue in colour and this one is pink, but they look identical. As you can see, it's quite a difference. That one looks pretty filthy actually, and certainly I think there might be some oil in there. There certainly isn't any oil in this one. However, there's still some oil in the airbox. So let's stop the video and get that out. Right, so I'm going to record a voiceover here because the quality of the audio is very poor as I've removed the microphone. So I'm just reporting here that there was only a minimal amount of oil in the airbox, so I've just cleaned that out with tissues. Here are the two the new air filter and the old one. Complete difference between the two. The old one soaked in oil and quite dirty. The new one very clean, different colour. All you have to do is just drop it in and Bob's your elderly male relative. So now the task is to take the airbox lid, put it back on again. This is where I think that Moto Guzzi dropped a bollock and should have provided spring clips. That's the airbox cover back on. Now all I need to do is get the screws and put them back in using a screwdriver. Of course, me being Captain Clumsy, I immediately drop one. That goes, what I think is into the bike, but it turns out that it was on the ground all the time. So I now fumble about looking for the screw pointlessly. Then I get various implements such as pliers to try and recover it, making a complete idiot of myself. But in the end I find it and the screw goes back on and everything's hunky-dory. But yes, good idea if you're going to do this to stuff it with tissues to start with, and that acts as a good barrier against things falling past and falling into inaccessible areas. Well, that one's already done. As I've already mentioned elsewhere, wouldn't it be sensible if Moto Guzzi used spring clips instead of these screws which are prone to getting lost? Ho, it's an Italian motorbike. So the next step is just to get the rest of the screws in, tightened up, and then that job's going to be done. However, in the process of recovering the screw, getting everything fitted back in and having to take various bits off, including the battery and the fuse holders, I did learn how to remove those things, so that'll be useful for another occasion when I have to. Finally, that awkward little job is done. Note to self, must put the tissues in first, seat back on, then we can take the bike down to Coastal Motors. Right, we really are finished now, so a dash to Coastal Motors, not much time left, we should just about get there on time. But thanks for watching this video. I've been Captain Clumsy, you've been my audience. Please like, comment, subscribe, help this channel grow so all us numpties could grow together and get things done better and enjoy our lives better. So that was a typical video. Thanks very much. Bye now.